Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Vavatu, Sahaviryam Karavavai, Tejasvina Tamastu Vidvishavai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We will start with the mantra I chanted just now. It's usually chanted before a gathering, before a serious spiritual discussion, and so on. It's from the Upanishads. Many of you may know the mantra actually, but may not know what it means. The mantra is Om Sahana Vavatu. Let's not take up Om now because we already spent some time with Om. Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Vunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. This is the mantra. It's important to note what this mantra means for a satsang. When people sit together and try to understand these matters, this mantra is one of the most relevant mantras to this. You would have noticed that the first three sentences have a common word. Saha. Sahana Vavatu. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Saha Viryam Karavavahai. All the three lines. The meaning of Saha is that not only me but you and I. Sahana Vavatu. May you and I could have said I and you, but I'm deliberately saying you and I. Saha could be both. Sahana Vavatu. May you and I be protected. Protected from what? First, physical protection. We have a roof to sit down, and while we have our satsang, there's no rain falling on our heads, physical protection. So also protection from the vagaries of nature. Like in Texas, when we sit down, we have to wonder if there is a hurricane coming along. So, protection from nature, and please remember that these forest academies were in the forest, and there were snakes and scorpions and things like that there, apart from wild animals. So the prayer is, may you and I be protected from thee, so that we can sit down and profitably discuss deep matter, because you are disturbed, and if you are not protected, you cannot do it. So this is the first meaning. Sahana Vavatu. Now, it also means, may my mind be protected from unnecessary thoughts which are not relevant to the topic, from being disturbed by outward circumstances. May my mind be protected from all that would cause injury to it, and all that would disrupt the learning process which I have initiated, and so on. Sahana Vavatu. Not only me, also you. Then, Sahana Bhunaktu, may you and I be nourished. Nourished, physical nourishment, of course. Now, physical nourishment, the yogi believes that one has to eat proper food to be able to practice whatever is to be practiced. The yogi does not believe in starvation. The yogi also does not believe in overeating. It's a moderation is the key. Neither eat too much nor eat too little, neither sleep too much nor sleep too little. So nourishment is absolutely essential. Now the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali come from Yoga Darshana, but they derive a lot from Sankhya Darshana, which is the mother of the Yoga Darshana, of the great Rishi Kapila. According to Sankhya, which Yoga Darshana also believes in, the subtlest part of the food that we eat goes to form the mind. So a mind, from the point of view of Sankhya and Yoga, is not an immaterial thing. It's a material thing, subtle material, which could mean that you need nourishment for your brain to think properly. Could. You just don't eat for 10 days and see how your brain works. It becomes dull. You can't think sharply. So, nourishment. That is the physical nourishment. Also, mind nourishment. You should nourish your mind with the right enjoyments, the right understanding, the right experiences, which means that which does not distract the mind or those inputs which do not cause injury to the mind, and make it calm, quiet, and be able to think properly. These are the mind foods that you need. One of the best nourishment for the mind in anyone who seriously meditates is music. Music is a very wonderful and useful practice to bring about a quiet and beautiful mind which moves naturally towards the direction of that which is deep and beyond. So these nourishments, physical nourishment, of course exercise, good food, nourishing food, not eating too much or fasting, starving, not fasting. Fasting is different. When you once in a while give some rest to your body, that's fasting. When you're not eating anything at all, it's starving. Two things. In which case, if fasting and starving were the same, then many of the people who don't get food at all will become spiritual, which is not the case. The UN doesn't have to help anybody then. So, may we be nourished. Sahana Vavatu, may we be protected. May we be nourished. Saha Viryam Karavavahai. May the vigor and the vitality in you and me increase so that I have the strength to move forward on this path. This is not for the weak. This path is quite a struggle and quite a movement which is not normally done. So therefore you need a lot of energy and strength to be able to navigate yourself on this path, and therefore we are also asking for strength and virility. In fact, Upanishad is on record. Nayam atma balahinena labhya. This Atman cannot be attained by the weak. It's not just physical, but the mind. So, saha viryam karavavai, tejasvina vaditamastu. May the spiritual tejas in us, you and me, increase. May the light that draws us to the truth grow and glow in us. And the last one is, ma vidvishavahai. Let us not fight with each other. Friends, when we, it's like this. If you and I are trying to look at something, an idea, there are two ways. One is argument. The other is a dialogue. An argument is when you have decided, you have concluded that this is what it is, whatever it is. Could be spiritual, could be material. You have decided this is how it should be. And I have decided this is how it should be. And now how can we meet and how can we pursue something to figure out what is right? Because we have made our ways completely crystallized. We can't move. So, Arguments is what is called vidvisha. On the other hand, if it's a dialogue, then there is no argument, there is no fight there. We are both sitting together, looking at something and trying to find out the truth. We are not trying to outpace each other or say that you're wrong, I'm right. We're saying, let's sit down and look at it and sort it out. So, this is the meaning of the sloka that we chanted. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. With this in mind, satsangs usually begin by understanding this. I know in many parts of even my country, people chant this, not knowing what they are chanting. It's like the average European citizen chanting Spanish, Latin, not knowing what he's chanting. They say Greek and Latin. So, unfortunately, it is so. So, to understand this and move forward is the chant. Okay? Now, we said body, mind, then beyond, exploring consciousness. So, it may be a good idea to start with the body now that we have a general picture of what we are looking at, and then how it is related to the mind, and then how to get beyond the mind. When I say beyond the mind, beyond the ordinary mind. I believe that each human being has an ordinary and an extraordinary mind. Western psychology recognizes only three states. One, conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Right? Now, conscious, we know, the conscious mind. Subconscious, now the wonderful thing is that although we think that most of our actions are dictated by our conscious mind, 40 to 50% of our actions are dictated by the subconscious mind. They're only manifested in the conscious mind. There is hidden all the preparations required for the conscious mind in the subconscious mind. So very often we act, sometimes we consciously wonder, why did I act like that? Because it is in the subconscious. The unconscious mind is something the psychologists cannot define. They say it is the sum substance of all thought processes from the past and so on and so forth. But we, in the sense that we who understand and follow the Yoga Darshana, our theory is that apart from the conscious, subconscious and unconscious, there is a superconscious mind. Now this superconscious mind may have nothing to do with any physical entity or physical object. It can operate by itself. But generally, when the mind is clear enough and purified enough, the superconscious can act through that mind. Otherwise it cannot act because it is all clouded and full of muck. So removing the muck is the practice of yoga, so that one gets in tune with the superconscious. Now, superconscious is merely a word. You cannot define it actually. It means it is conscious, but does not fall under the definitions that we know of. This is what it means, super. Right? So, from here, we will slowly go into the body and the mind, how they are connected together in a concrete way. Just now, till now we were talking, discussing something abstract. It is real, but to most minds it is abstract. And this is the darshana called the Yoga Darshana. Now, the ancient systems of philosophy that we have, that have come from India, All the systems are called darshanas. Now the word darshan simply means face to face. When I have your darshan, means I have seen you face to face. You have my darshan, I have seen you face to face. Darshan means to see face to face. So it's very interesting that all the six philosophical schools of thought that are in India, all of them are called darshanas, which means to come face to face with the reality. That was the intention of all the darshanas. Starting with Vaisheshika, Nyaya, Vedanta, Sankhya, and of course the last one is Yoga, Yoga Darshana. Shat Darshanas. Among the six Darshanas, last is the Yoga Darshana, which is the, yeah. Now one of the oldest of the Darshanas, schools of thought in India, is the Sankhya Darshana. Sankhya Darshana is, the founder of Sankhya is supposed to be, not supposed to be, is Kapila, the great Muni Kapila. Kapila is pretty ancient, even more ancient than Vedanta. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, which is considered to have been written by Vyasa, composed by Vyasa, when there are only two main characters in the Gita, one is Krishna and the other is Arjuna. And both are talking to each other. Mostly Krishna is talking and Arjuna is listening, but it's a dialogue, talking to you. Now in the Gita, at one point, Krishna suddenly begins to say, now till that point, he's a friend of Arjuna's, a good friend, mentor, all that is true, but the relationship is very intimate. Suddenly in one chapter, he starts saying that among the mountains I am the Meru, and among the immovables I am the Himalaya, among the Vedas I am the Samaveda, and so on. Arjuna is shocked because till now he thought this is none other than my friend Krishna. Now suddenly he says, I am the Meru. How can he be the Meru? Meru is the North Pole. So Krishna here in this dialogue in the Gita is trying to break the so-called rational framework that Arjuna has created himself. Breaking is taken place, which means what? Manthan is happening at that point. That's the point when Krishna kind of puts everything upside down. How can a human being be the mountain? You see? And while saying about all these glories, he, among the sages, he says, I am Kapila. This is to establish the importance of Kapila and the teachings which are called Sankhya. The meaning of the word Sankhya means figures, numbers, Sankhya, which means it is a very mathematical kind of teaching. Sankhya Pravanchana Sutra talks a lot about algebra and geometry. It sounds like a Pythagorean system, but it doesn't matter, we'll forget about that. The Sankhya is one of the oldest. In fact, many of the terms used even in Vedanta and Yoga are derived from Sankhya. Tattva, precisely from Sankhya. Chakra, Sankhya. Gunas, Trigunas, Sankhya. Even Shankara in his commentaries of Vedanta has adopted all these terms. So Sankhya is very important. There is one problem with Sankhya, not a problem, but some people think is a problem, is that it has no concept of a creator God, Kapila. There is a mention of Ishwara, and according to Kapila in the Sankhya, Ishwara is the primordial sum total of all wisdom, which is always there from the beginning of time. That's all. Nowhere is there a creator. According to Sankhya, the world is made by a mixing of different chemicals and different elements and by an innate intelligence which is in them, and it's a cyclic manifestation and a destruction that happens. Now, Yoga Darshana is the last darshana that we have. In Yoga Darshana, much of the theory is from Sankhya, except that Patanjali, please, when I say Patanjali, not the guy who's manufacturing medicines in India. Patanjali, the great Rishi, okay? We have to clarify. Otherwise, they might think that Patanjali is living in Haridwar. So. The great Rishi, Patanjali, who is the founder of the yoga system of philosophy, or the Yoga Darshana, admits that one can individually have some kind of a contact with Ishvara, which does not exist in Sankhya. Sankhya Darshana makes no such claim. But in the Yoga Darshana, the concept has been modified a little by Patanjali, who says that yes, Ishvara is the primordial repository of all knowledge from ancient times, was never created, which was never created, and which is also omnipresent. But it can be also by the human mind brought, the human mind can go close and perhaps understand the teachings by considering it a very personal affair between the Ishvara and the human soul. This one modification. The rest of the theory is all Sankhya. So, so yoga, you know that. Now I don't have to say, everybody knows what is yoga nowadays. There is also a yoga called hot yoga these days. Somebody practices in a hot room and sweats to death. It's called hot yoga. Vikram yoga, something, all kinds of yogas anyway. Somebody said some yoga. Now in Sanskrit, some yoga means having sex. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, oh sorry, a little kid. So, Patanjali put the entire knowledge of yoga into a text which is followed by those who follow the Yoga Darshana. And the text is called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Yoga Sutras. Now when you say sutra, a sutra means an aphorism. Aphorism, E-P-H-O-R-I-S-M, aphorism. An aphorism is a tightly edited statement which needs an interpretation. So therefore Patanjali's Yoga Sutras have a couple of good interpreters. Vyasa himself is an interpreter of the Yoga Darshana, and there are many others. Now, Yoga Darshana, therefore, is the starting point which connects us, like our subject today, body to mind and then beyond. And it has an advantage that many people, many of us, like something systematic and step by step, although in the ultimate essence we have to break all systems and all shapes and all forms. But that's the way the mind usually likes to go, the inductive mind. Plus, yoga is a step-by-step process which everybody likes, step by step. And gradually one goes about how to get to the ultimate truth through understanding the mind and purifying it and so on and so forth. Now, In the Yoga Darshanas, so therefore the sutras need a commentary. Patanjali begins by saying, Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Here begins the study of yoga. Simple, plain. And then he says, defines this yoga, which he is going to teach, not me, he. Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. That means yoga, I'm going to translate, yoga is the nirodha of the vrittis of the chitta. Is that clear? So, it means yoga, according to Patanjali, is the clearing of the mind. When he says chitta, he's talking about the mind stuff, which is made up of thoughts and so on. This mind, which generally in most cases is agitated, distracted, sometimes up, sometimes down, could be even a small little thing like buying a dog at home. You know our life. The wife wants a dog and the husband doesn't want it, or it may be the other way around. So all this that happens is what you call the distractions of the mind. The constant agitation that goes on in the mind. Plus likes and dislikes, fears. Not fears, fear, F-E-A-R. This is what the mind is composed of, all of us. Mind. Sometimes good thoughts, lovely memories, sometimes such bad memories that you cannot forget it. This is the mind. So Patanjali says, yoga, even the beginning of yoga, is getting rid of all these distractions or clearing the mind of all the distractions and the opposites and the, disruptions that happen from the mind. This is the definition of yoga, according to Patanjali. Now, why is this to be done? So that when the mind is thus free of all distractions, all opposites, all quarrels, all these, and when everything goes and it's steady and quiet, when it becomes like a peak with just a little bit of snow on the tip, Mont Blanc, then that mind is then the tarmac from which you can take off to the higher levels of consciousness. This is essential. Till then, one might try, but one is not equipped because the mind is so agitated. So in an agitated mind, how can you try and go beyond it? It always pulls you down. So this is the meaning of the word yoga. Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. Now, this is not only the mind but also the body, because the mind and the body are so interrelated to each other. The state of the mind is reflected in the body. And the body state is also reflected in the mind very often. Because if you are weak, if you have a disease, your mind is sick also. It can't think, there is pain, so it's affected by it. So what is the way to bring about this? This is the practice of yoga. This is what Patanjali has said. And then he goes about describing first how to get the body in shape, how to get the mind in shape, how to how to bring about a change in your mind so that it's not caught up in these agitations, and how it is linked to the practice of breath, which is pranayama. We will not discuss anything about breath because this is not a Kriya retreat. The next Kriya retreat we will come to that, but in general I will discuss it, okay? So, If any one of you has looked at the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, you will find that they are divided into 4 chapters. The first chapter is called the Samadhi Pada. Now, what is Samadhi? Samadhi, according to the Yoga Sutras, Yoga Darshana, is a state of mind when the mind is completely quiet. Samadhi is thought, thinking, when everything is quiet. So, Samadhi here, Samadhi Pada, the chapter on Samadhi, explores and discusses the different states of mind, how it is agitated and how it is when it's settled down. And for settling down, it goes through the states called Samadhi. And there are many kinds of Samadhi. There's one kind of Samadhi, in which, please don't mistake Samadhi with the tomb they build after a person dies, okay? That is Mahasamadhi. That means no more getting up. R.I.P. Rest in peace, or rise if possible. So, this, how did I say? I was trying to rise, Samadhi Pada. Now in Samadhi Pada, different states of mind, different trance states, etc. are discussed. Some of them are what is called a Savikalpa Samadhi, which means while you are in that state, everything is quiet. And no vrittis. The moment you get up from there, the vrittis start coming again. This is the Savikalpa Samadhi. Nice, of course, to be free of the vrittis at least for a while, but then when you wake up, they're back again. The last stage, the highest Samadhi, is that which is Nirvikalpa Samadhi or Nirbija Samadhi, because there is no more desire for the mind to agitate itself through being caught up with various things. So all the seeds of the desire to be caught up are also finished. So this is Nirbija. That means that which has no seeds, no potential, no seeds left to come up even when you are awake or living in this world. That is the last. So therefore it's called the Samadhi Pada. So the practice of Yoga Sutras, how do we reach that state? Oh no, what is the final state? The final state is when the mind is free of all the muck one has gathered. Before, now, everything. And yogis say also from the past, for which you need to believe there is a past life. Otherwise, forget it. Even now, the muck that we carry. So, this is the first chapter. Because Patanjali prepares you for these experiences. Otherwise, the next chapter might be very potent, next and the next and the next. May be very active, potent and useful and effective, but you don't know where you're going. You might feel a little bit of happiness and think, I am in Samadhi. Or you may be caught up in the patterns of breathing which are not conducive to a quiet mind, and so on. So first, that is described. I'm not going to discuss that, it's a big thing. Read Samadhi Pada. Then, the next chapter is called Sadhana Pada, which means the practice. What is to be practiced to bring this about? Now, please remember that we are discussing this question of consciousness, connecting the body, mind, and so on. Okay. Okay. How do we start this now? Yogas chitta vritti nirodha is over. Okay. Now, the first sentence which you will find when you take up the chapter called the chapter of practice, which is Sadhana Pada. The first line goes like this. Tapas, if you have the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, tapas, Svadaya, Ishwara Pranidhana, Kriya Yoga. Patanjali calls it Yoga Kriya. Although it's usually popularly referred to as Ashtanga Yoga because it has 8 angas or 8 parts, Patanjali nowhere calls it Ashtanga. He calls it Kriya Yoga, only once. That is the first sentence. Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishwara Pranidhana, Kriya Yoga. Now, why is the Kriya Yoga done? To bring about a quietness of mind, to free the mind of all distractions, chitta vritti nirodha, to wash out all the vrittis from the chitta. Now, it need not be done in a cave, it can be done in your house. It doesn't mean you need to wear any special robes. It can be just normal, nothing to it. Okay? Now, start with the first. What is the first word? Tapas. Now people have various ideas about tapasya, They think that tapasya means you go and stand in a river up to your neck with one leg like this. Hours together till God gives darshan. Now, such things are written in the Puranas, but Puranas were written in the Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga. It's a different time. Now we are in Kali Yuga. None of these things work. If you go and stand in the river up to your neck and hold your hands up for 2 days, you'll get pneumonia. No chitta vritti nirodha. So, here the context, the meaning of the word tapas is derived from the word tapa, which means heat. Heat. Tapa. And why is it called heat? Why is tapasya called heat? Because basically, most human beings, most of us, are moving in one direction, along with the stream. One individual stands up and says, no, I'm going to swim against the stream. Most of us live with this moving with the stream, which means all joy and happiness in this world is outside. Gather. One guy discovers that this may not be so. Maybe it's all in here, so turns back. He's swimming against the stream. It's not easy because the stream is moving in one direction. We are every day bombarded by the stream, through the media, through everything. But one guy says, no, I'm discarding, I'm turning around. I need quietness, I need to go with it. This is not the way. Now when this happens, there is always a friction between the two. And friction is heat, is generated. This is tapa. Heat, two opposing views coming. Plus, when I decide that for the time being, I will cut myself off from the way the senses travel and bring them back to their source, again there is heat generated. Why is heat generated? Actually, one is the mind generating heat. The other is holding all the emotions which are normally not held itself brings about a heat inside the system. So it's called tapasya. So you need not eat for many days or not drink water for many days, stop breathing this is impossible for one day. None of these. Tapasya means The attitude of moving towards a direction which the mind normally is not moving in, that pressure, friction is tapasya. Can be done in many ways, but this is tapasya. And what is the second word in the first sentence? Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means basically self-study. Swa. Swadhyaya, self-study. Which means no spoon feeding, which is what all our education system is about, spoon feeding, gathering information. No, Swadhyaya is not that. Gathering information actually is a waste of time because today we have got Google, capital G. Any information is available. Why are we breaking our heads for that information? Or you have Chat GPT. The other day I went tried Chat GPT. Who is Shri? I said he's an odd man who goes around. Anyway, so I was glad, of course. So Swadhyaya is studying oneself. Of course, some help is required in the beginning. After that, one has to study oneself to figure out things. You cannot just say, somebody said this, so it must be true. No, need to look at it. This is Swadhyaya, self-study. Basically, it means not only theoretical study, but experimental study. Hands-on study, something. Not depending on what has been put into your head. In fact, if somebody, too much information is put into the head, which includes many belief systems and so on, then there is no Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya when the mind is clear and is trying to understand. Like, suppose there is a statement which says, Tat Tvamasi. Non-Swadhyaya is when I believe, yes, Tat Tvamasi, you are that. You are, what does it mean? When I study it, that nobody can provide. I study it and I figure out what it means, could mean. This is Swadhyaya, which means engage your mind in the study, not depend on what is being put into your head. Okay. Now there is another meaning for Swadhyaya. Swa, Adhyaya. Understanding, studying the self. Swa is self, oneself. So Swadhyaya here means trying to understand the self. Who am I? Where do I stand? Not saying that I am the Brahman, no. That you don't know. That's what somebody said. Okay, fine, let it rest. But you're not the Brahman right now. So Swadhyaya simply means understanding oneself. And how do you understand? Only in communication with the outside world. Otherwise you cannot study yourself. I can't sit down quietly in a room and say that I have studied myself. How? There is no reaction with the outside world. How do I know how I behave, what I do, what is the stuff I'm made of? Babaji told me once, if you're going to sit for 10 years in the cave and meditate 10 hours every day and think that you have attained the tranquility of mind, he said, it's nonsense. You don't know. You cannot get angry with the cave. You can't be jealous of the walls of the cave. There's nobody to interact. You don't know. Some wild thoughts come in your mind. That's all you know. When you come out of the cave and get into a bus, somebody kicks you on your foot with a boot, studded boot. God help if it's a stiletto heel. Then you know where you stand. Not otherwise. Inside, what do you know? There's nothing. So this, now there is another little bit of parallel to this, okay? I think I am a wonderful man because all the so-called negative emotions that come in me, I drown in alcohol. There, it's not moving out or being free of it. You're just stunning your brain. It's not anything positive, it's just, you know what I mean. So this, to understand this is Svadhyaya. Study myself. See how I react to people. What is my motive? Why do I want to forget myself? Forget this world by immersing myself in the spirits that come in the bottle, not the real spirit. To understand all this is Svadhyaya. Right? So, tapas, Svadhyaya. Believe me, these are not tall orders. This is easy. You just need to open your eyes. So, tapas, Svadhyaya, Ishwara Pranidhana, which means when I find that certain things cannot be solved through my limited brain and limited intellect, which is still not been purified, I say to myself, I surrender to the ultimate intelligence, which is called Ishvara. May my mind be cleared. This is called Ishwara Pranidhana. It's not going and surrendering to some stupid fellow like me. It's understanding that this mind, when all its exercises cannot reach there, so perhaps there's another way. So, say if Ishvara is the primordial essence of all this knowledge, may my mind become clarified. This is called Ishwara Pranidhana. So, if you go deep into the study of this text, you get rid of many false concepts that we have. This is okay. Now, in this context, I want to tell you a small story because everybody is fed up of Yoga Sutras by Savanapraj from Patanjali. Now, it's what I was talking about, Ishwara Pranidhana. It's not as if I'm saying, oh Ishwara, I'm surrendering to you. Nobody can really surrender, believe me. Once I told Maheswarnath Babaji, we were sitting in Rajasthan near the desert, and there was one big well there next to me. And I said to him, I don't know why, I wanted to please him, I don't know. I said, Babaji, I'm totally surrendered to you. I was very young. He said, oh, really? Acha. I said, you see that well there? I said, yes. Go jump into it. I said, why should I jump? You said you have surrendered everything. So when we say surrender, we always keep what is necessary here and surrender what is not necessary. Used clothes. So anyway, where was I going? Suddenly thought of Babaji. Yeah, kind of illustrate. Spiritual help or help to reach this ultimate is always there for all of us. Not through me or some other stupid fellow. I mean, it's there. But we do not allow it to happen to us. The thing called grace, the beautiful fragrance of the wind that carries the fragrance of the flowers, the beautiful grace, is there always. But we keep all our windows and doors and everything shut. So when it comes, it cannot enter. Not that it's not there. So what do? Open the windows, clean up the floor. Otherwise, when the grace of wind blows, it will get dust inside. Clean. So this whole process is called sadhana. To keep you cannot do anything more, believe me. We can do nothing except keep everything open and clean. And then be patient. Wait. You can't say, I know that the wind blows from the wind. I can't say, wind, blow now. No. But when it blows, if it is closed, it doesn't come to me. So, what I'm trying to say is that something which is intangible, called grace, is there. But we, with our minds, do not allow it even to act on us. I put it this way. You think of a rectangular glass case, okay? A rectangular glass case. Transparent, you can see it, only there is no roof. In the center, there is a glass that divides it into two compartments. Okay. On one side, it's like a desert-like atmosphere. And there are some thin creatures there, red and green, both red and green, who are like wafers. You know what are wafers? Very thin. They don't even understand the dimension of thickness or depth. They know only two dimensions, length and breadth. They are wafer thin. Their movement is limited to that. Can't do anything, that's how they are made, okay? Now, they are both green and red. And they are all on this side where there's like a desert. It's very dry and horrible. On the other side of the glass division, there are a few, both red and green, very few of them there, and it's like an oasis. There is water, there is greenery, there is lawns, there is everything, but very few. And these guys sitting here are always trying to go there because they see the other guys are enjoying. Few guys. They're trying to go there, but they can't. You know why? There is a glass division there, a wall, and they do not know that there is a way like this. They know only this. This is the situation of our mind, our ordinary mind. It moves. These creatures have two, we have only three. We don't know anything else. So these creatures, they try hard, they want to get through this wall, which is a good intention, agreed. But they can never go. And they're wondering, how did these guys reach there? Now of these, a few get wise, and say, perhaps this is not going to work, so before I exert myself again, let me take some rest. So in one corner, one or two of them are resting happily. Now I am looking from the top. I actually want to put these guys on that side. I can't catch them because they're always moving this way, up and down. Then I see two are silent. They don't know how they came. They're happy, and these guys don't know how they went because they know only this movement. Similar, something pretty similar is Ishwara Pranidhana. If all these three are combined in a good way, in a proper proportion, and then it becomes Kriya Yoga, the practice of Kriya, by which the mind is freed from all its distractions and therefore becomes a perfect take-off point to ascend to higher levels of consciousness. Now there are different ways of getting this done, through pranayama, through chanting. All these are the different techniques. Not to find the truth, mind you. You cannot. One cannot. The truth has to come. But when it comes to be ready for it and to open the windows. These are the practices, the sadhana. Right. So now I rest my case. If you have anything to discuss on this, only for today's what we discussed, please put up your hands and I will then try to do my best to get as many as possible.
Can I talk?
Yes, please.
I was wanting to ask you, we talked about Mandukya Upanishad. So my question is, if the difference between the waking state and the dream state is continuity, what are the similarities between the dream state and the waking state?
Same. Everything else is the same, except that we have continuity in the waking state. There is no other difference. Just look at it, think about it. In the dream, we enjoy, we suffer. Everything happens, right? And it is so real at that point.
But it feels different.
Huh?
But it feels different.
What?
It feels different.
It feels different.
No hurry to take the microphone. It feels different, yes, because there is no continuity. Whoever, it's up to you. You are the king.
Since you mentioned the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, could you recommend the commentary on the Patanjali Yoga Sutras?
Yeah, there are some well-known commentaries on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. The best one, of course, would be Vyasa. Vyasa's commentary on the Yoga Sutras. But there is also a commentary, an exposition by yours faithfully. It's called Yoga also for the godless, not for the godless, mind you. Also, those who don't want to think of God and all that still can read the Yoga Sutras. So you can do that, or you can try and get a Vyasa's commentary on the Yoga Sutras. I would suggest that you go into Amazon and check in Motilal Banarsi Das Publishers. Motilal Banarsi Das Publishers. In Delhi, they have a very good Vyasa's translation in English of commentaries on the Yoga Sutras.
I have a question about.
Let me closer.
I have a question about near-death experiences.
About?
Near-death experiences.
Okay.
What is the vision of Sadhana Darshana about those experiences?
I can't hear you. Little more. Louder, please. Louder.
Okay. What is the vision of Yoga Darshana about near-death experiences? Is it a bird or something?
Yoga Sutras have not discussed or mentioned anything about near-death experience.
Okay. Thank you.
They have only discussed how to shift yourself from ordinary consciousness to that which is beyond. They have not discussed any particular experiences, near-death experiences.
Okay, thank you.
An easy one. From my self-experience, I was in some kind of place. I don't want to name it right now, but
Okay.
I just sit there and I was doing Kriya for 20 years. And in this place, I didn't remember anything. They all gone. And then I went to a picture from Babaji, or of Babaji. And I laid down there and I just said, okay, I cannot offer anything. I cannot offer you flowers because They are actually not made by me. I cannot offer you instant or something like that, so it's not made by me. So the only thing I can give you is me. Please help me to transform. This was what I was doing. And now I'm asking myself, all these experiences that I'm doing, that I had after that, and all the, some call like information that are coming. If somebody asks me, who's your teacher then? I cannot name him. Actually, I come to the point that I don't really care who he is.
Don't care.
Exactly.
Look, let me define to you the ancient teaching on who is the teacher, the supreme teacher. Okay? Brahmanandam, Paramasugadam, Kevalam, Jnanamurtim. That means one, the bliss of the Brahman, the bliss of realization, the bliss of the Brahman, Paramasugadam, the most precious, Kevalam, Jnanamurtim, is pure image of knowledge or realization. Dandvatitam, who has no two opposites, pleasure or pain, anger or attraction. Dandvatitam, Gagana Sadarsham, as wide as the sky that we see. Tattvamasya Laksham, who is what the Vedas refer to as that you are, Tattvamasi. There is only one, Ekam, Nityam, and it's always there, never dies and is never born, therefore. Nityam, Ekam, Nityam, Vimalam, Achalam. It's without any impurity, pure as ever, always born or always existing as the pure. Vimalam, Achalam, which has no movement, always there, still. Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam, which is the witness of all the movements that are happening. Bhavatitam, it doesn't have the bhavas like, it doesn't cry or laugh or anything of that kind. Triguna Rahitam, it doesn't have any of the gunas given in the Sankhya, which is Sattva, Rajas and Tamo gunas, which we need to elaborate to understand, but it doesn't matter. Qualities, tangible qualities. Triguna Rahitam, that being, Sadgurum Tam Namami, that is the Supreme Guru, nothing else. All other human figures, whatever who teach you, they may be teachers, so you may say Guru. But the Satguru is none other than the Supreme Brahman. So don't worry.
Now, Guruji, my question is about the very first part that you mentioned.
The first?
Very first concept that you mentioned in the beginning.
To now or before?
No.
Now.
About staying with the emptiness and not to pursue something to fill the emptiness, or also, I think it's also related with tapasya.
Wait a minute. I did not say not to pursue anything to fill your emptiness. I didn't say that.
You didn't say it, but I think it's similar to tapasya. Isn't it?
It is similar to tapasya, okay. But I didn't say that. Look, as a human being, in a natural way, we always try to fill our emptiness with something. It's standard, it's understood. But understand the fact that none of this is ultimately going to fill the emptiness. I'm talking about that understanding, not trying to. You try hard, it's not possible. You will say one day you will feel very lonely and you will say, where is my girlfriend? It's not so easy. It is normal. But to understand that ultimately, in the ultimate sense, nothing is going to fill that emptiness in us. And that emptiness is not empty. That emptiness is the full. It's not empty. We are afraid of it because you think, oh, it is empty. It's not empty. Go explore that emptiness. It's bottomless, but it's not a pit.
But being empty makes us quicker to realize, to.
You cannot be empty. I'm saying realize this fact. Now again we will get into this action. I want to empty my mind. How do I do it? I am myself not empty. How can I empty my mind? So I'm talking about the concept and the idea we should keep in mind that nothing that you do can fill this emptiness. When you understand that, and one day when you're in deep in that understanding, sitting in your bedroom or wherever with your window open, suddenly you just feel a nice gentle breeze. And then you see that there is no need to fill it. That emptiness itself is full. That's what I meant. I didn't say not to fill your emptiness. You'll go crazy. If you try not to fill, one day you're feeling empty. No, I don't know. You'll go crazy. Do good music. There are beautiful ways of doing that without getting too caught up and attached to it.
So I have a question for Sadhana. Since we discussed
Sadhana Pada, yes.
does it not make the mind more mechanical? Because we're doing something continuously.
Yes.
So instead of being free, the mind falls into a pattern.
Yes.
So how do we get out of it?
Okay.
Break us inside?
Okay. The problem is that the mind, without any kind of sadhana, usually does not become free. It catches itself into another pattern, which is not sadhana. It is never entirely free. One does one sadhana to free oneself from all these influences. Okay. Now there is one thing which is there now, sadhana. That becomes a practice. This is what you are saying, that right? Now, that has to fall of its own. Let me give you an example. You have a clay which is shapeless. Shapeless clay. You want to create a beautiful image out of that clay. Okay? So what do you need it? You get a mold, you put it inside, press it nicely, close both sides of the mold, and once it is ready and dry or burnt or whatever, the image is ready. Now to see the image, can you see it if you don't break the mold? No. But can you do it without the mold? No. This is sadhana. That mold is the sadhana, and the breaking is essential at the end. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You must do it with the awareness that this is also a practice.
So who breaks the mold?
Huh?
What breaks the mold?
No, your very idea that now it is done, I need to break the mold is what happens. Nobody breaks. Nobody comes and breaks the mold. I wouldn't.
Is it the same with studying the scriptures? Is it the same thing? Like
Come.
you're trying to make.
Wait a minute. Give us.
Thank you. Is it the same with studying the scriptures?
Absolutely. See, none of the things I said is not to do. What I meant was, while doing it, see the conditionings that are with it. You understand?
Yeah, I understand.
It's not that look, one of the Upanishads says, now this is interesting, otherwise we don't have to sit through all these sadhanas. It's a very important principle. It says, Nayam Atma pravachanena labhya. This Atman cannot be attained through any satsang, through any speech, through any pravachan. So, does it mean that we need not attend the pravachana? Because if one doesn't attend the pravachana, how does one know that it is mentioned? You get it? It doesn't also mean that you're not. Now, this is interesting. Since you asked this question, in one of the ancient, why am I going back to the Upanishads? Because they are the earliest teachings we have. And they're unadulterated and pure. One of the Upanishads, a guy goes to a great rishi and asks him, Sir, how do I attain the knowledge? How do I attain the knowledge of the truth? The rishi says to him, that sentence I'm trying to catch. The rishi says to him, there are two kinds of knowledge. There is the higher knowledge and there is the lower knowledge. So he says to him, so can you give me a list of the lower knowledge so that I can avoid it and find the higher knowledge? You will be shocked. This is the list given in the Mundaka Upanishad of what is lower knowledge. You will be shocked. It starts like this: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, Jyotisha, all the what you call Veda Angas after that. All this is lower knowledge. So this guy is astounded. He said, then what is higher knowledge? He says, higher knowledge is that which leads you to the truth. Which simply means that if the knowledge of all these does not lead you to the truth, it still remains a lower knowledge. That's what it means. Not that you shouldn't study. If you don't study the Upanishad, how would you know that this is said there? Tell me. So that's somewhat similar to what this young man asked me today. I did not say not to fill, but understand that it is not the ultimate. Yeah, sorry.
Guruji, my question is, since from the morning satsang you mentioned about the Samudra Mandan and the internal churning was the poison comes. So instead of avoiding it, just deal with it. You mentioned about that. And then you also given a story about the stone, unwanted things removed, then the beautiful sculpture added. And the evening satsang you mentioned also about the Svadaya self-study. I feel connect. And my question is this, when this poison comes up or when unwanted things...
It need not necessarily come out. It may, okay.
You become just aware of that and admit it, or should I introspect that? What should I do?
You should become aware of it, point number one. First step, be aware. Second step, see, this is not good for me. How do I get it out? The first step is to be aware, because all our lives we live generally without being aware of it. It's deep down in the subconscious and it comes out at times when we don't know. Right? So that you have seen it, then you deal with it. How to deal with it is a different question. First see it. One has to be aware of it. One can live all one's life without being aware of it. If you are not aware of it, how are you going to get rid of it?
Guruji, in the morning you drink properly.
Oh, your thing fell off. That's why I thought you will ask about that's why I was cleaning this. And it fell off. Anyway, yeah.
When you drink that properly, you said it comes from the memory, that you know that it's a copper lake. Instead of getting it from the memory, do we start from the beginning to say, what is it? Do we start from the beginning each time we hold it, or It's
Okay, let me put it. What I said was not that you should not get knowledge by looking and putting it in the memory. There's not people who have dementia have no memory at all. I'm not talking about that, okay? What I'm saying is there are other ways of looking at a thing fresh. And this especially applies to human beings, living beings, not so much of the material things. You know, if you look carefully, many people, I'm not meaning anybody in particular, please don't misunderstand me. I know people who have been married for 30 years, who have seen the face of their husband, or the husband has seen the real face only on a few days after marriage. After that, images are created, and we see only images. We don't see actually. You see, this is what I'm trying to do. Go to the essence of it, not the image. Can we discard the images? Because every day is a new day. Every minute is a new minute. Can we live without carrying this? For practical purposes, you will need. Like you have to know somebody is a man or a woman. Yes, I understand. But psychologically, can we live without the impressions that we carry about people? Then the mind opens. This is what, it's not about a material object. I just used it as an example. I'll give you another example which applies to me. I'm sure at least some of you have read my books, my autobiographies, seen the YouTubes, right? So you have formed some idea about me, right? Yes, truth. You have some idea about me. And I have seen many of you in different circumstances, in different times. If I have not seen somebody, I'm seeing somebody for the first time is wonderful. But I haven't. So now we are saying that we are communicating with each other, right? We are not communicating. I'll tell you why. Because you are communicating with the image that you have created about me. And I'm communicating with the image that I have created about you. So there is no real communication. The images are communicating. See this? The entire study of Sankhya is this. How images are created, how we live in a world of images. We don't know really who, what. So for a minute if I say, I don't know this man. Let me just hear what he's trying to say. Oh, he wrote something in his autobiography, some fire went up, it's all rubbish. Suppose. Maybe his imagination. Listen as if you're listening for the first time to something that is being said, not to who is saying it, Mandukya. It could be a frog. But what is being said? Then there is communication. You know what I'm trying to say?
basically going beyond the impressions which you already have.
That way, in fact, many problems are solved. We live with these images and we are fighting with the images are fighting with each other. There is no reality. Now, if we can't find reality in this world, in our relationships, how are we going to find the ultimate reality, the truth? How? Samaptam, which is a Sanskrit word meaning over today, for today. Well, believe me, I am enjoying it. I don't know about you. Are you, whether you're in the waking state or...
On the road, I tell myself
Sir?
I say on the nighter road, I tell myself every day, God grant me patience, but hurry.
Patience to listen to me. Thank you very much. Now there is one word which we always need to say, Om Shanti, Shanti. There be peace, peace, peace. So much needed in this world.